The Supreme Court on Friday declared that All Progressive Congress (APC) did not hold any valid primaries in Zamfara State. Consequently, the court held that the party had no valid candidate for the governorship, National Assembly, and State House of Assembly elections. In a unanimous court judgment of a five-man panel led by the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Mohammed, the Apex Court directed INEC to declare the first runners-up in the different elections as winners. Justice Paul Adamu Galinje, who read the lead judgment, upheld the decision of the Sokoto Division of the Court of Appeal to the effect that the APC did not conduct any valid primary elections in the state, and as such had no candidates for any of the elections in the state. He declared that the votes polled by the APC candidate in the election was wasted, adding that the party and the candidates with the second highest votes were the valid winners. All the three appeals challenging the judgment of the Sokoto Division of the Court of Appeal were dismissed by the Apex Court. The judgment centers on the governorship, State House of Assembly, and the National Assembly elections concluded in Zamfara State on February 23 and March 11, 2019. PDP came second in all the elections, which saw the All Progressive Congress (APC) winning all the seats. APC's candidates, including the outgoing governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Yari, who was elected to the Senate, were said to have won most of the offices contested for in the 2019 elections, while the PDP came second. However, with the Supreme Court verdict, the PDP has now become the winner of all the positions. Meanwhile, while jubilation greeted the judgment of the Supreme Court in Zamfara on Friday, residents of Gusau, the state capital, trooped to the streets immediately news of the court judgment filtered in. Some of the people carried the poster of the PDP candidate Bello Muhammad Motawale, who may soon become the governor-elect. Also reacting to the Supreme Court judgment, the APC senator who went to court, Kabir Marafa, described it as victory for democracy. In a statement on Friday, Marafa said the judgment is a victory for democracy, triumph of truth over falsehood, and redeemer of integrity of the judiciary. The statement read, "As we all know, the APC was unable to conduct primaries in Zamfara State following Yari's thuggery and violent machination. With these lessons has been served that only strict adherence to rule of law and due process will take the country to the next level as being advocated by President Muhammadu Buhari. The judgment has shown that the president is religiously sincere with his non-interference stance on the function of other arms of government." Marafa called on his adversaries to accept the judgment as the will of Allah and a lesson that only Allah, the Almighty, crown a king. And still on the Zamfara judgment, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it held an emergency meeting on the court verdict on Friday. A statement by the National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, said the meeting will continue on Saturday to determine how to give effect to the court judgment. The Supreme Court directed the candidate who came second in all the elections be declared winner and issued with certificates of return. It is understood that the case with the governorship election may not be all straightforward, as the PDP candidate may not have met the constitutional requirement of 2/3 of the vote in at least 2/3 of the local government in the state. The National Working Committee of the ruling All Progressive Congress (APC) is currently in an emergency meeting over the judgment of the Supreme Court. Governors of the party were supposed to address newsmen on Friday after the emergence of Kebbi State Governor Atiku Bagudu as the new chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum on Friday had put the event off while they converged on the Abuja residence of Zamfara State Governor Abdulaziz Yari. Meanwhile, Victor Gaidam has been appointed as the acting National Publicity Secretary of the party pending when Yobe State nominate a replacement for the former National Secretary Maimale Buni, who is the governor-elect of Yobe State. Gaidam was the party's deputy national secretary. The Supreme Court has affirmed Kayode Fayemi of the All Progressive Congress as the validly elected governor of Ekiti State. In a unanimous judgment on Friday, a 5-man panel of the court dismissed the appeal filed by the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its candidate Kolakbo Eleka in the last governorship election. Justice John Inyang Okoro, who read the judgment of the court, held that the appeal was unmeritorious and upheld an earlier judgment by the Court of Appeal Abuja, which affirmed the decision of the election tribunal to the effect that Fayemi was validly elected. Eleka and the PDP had asked the tribunal to set aside the election of Fayemi and declare him the winner of the election, which in another breath he also described as flawed. Ahead of the May 29 inauguration day for President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the Presidential Inauguration Committee has embarked on an inspection tour of facilities and personnel deployed for the event at the Eagle Square, Abuja. The chairman of the committee, Boss Mustafa, assured Nigerians of a hitch-free event.
The sounds and sights of the activities outlined for the May 29 inauguration day here at the Eagle Square. Looking at the area of parades and mock rehearsals of key activities of the day by the President and the Vice President gives a clear picture that the inauguration committee members already have their jobs almost done. The team are at the Eagle Square to witness the mock rehearsals that will usher in the President and his Vice. Highlight of the rehearsals is the swearing-in ceremony and the oath of office taken by the President and his running mate.
So I think we are good to go. We are taking care of all the minute details to ensure that nothing happens. But we're trusting God that this will be one of the most memorable swearing-in ceremonies.
We've all witnessed the parade, the lowering of flag, the exchange of new flag, oath taking. The whole idea is to ensure that we will rectify whatever shortcomings or mistakes before the D-Day.
The Presidential Inauguration Committee member says finishing touches are already in place to have a hitch-free and low-key inauguration ceremony. All is set for Wednesday's inauguration ceremony of President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo here at the Eagle Square. The Presidential Inauguration Committee members have also expressed satisfaction at the preparations here at the Eagle Square with the wonderful and beautiful display of the personnel who will be officiating on that day. From the Eagle Square, Abuja, I'm Roluke Ogundele.
A new documentary titled Sweats of Freedom to reignite memories of political intrigues and efforts that played out during the famous 1993 June 12 election has just been unveiled. The documentary, produced by Signature Productions, seeks to remind Nigerians of the price many paid for the attainment of democracy in Nigeria and also to appreciate its worth.
On nights of sober reflection and deep thinking, a gathering of members of the diplomatic corps, political stakeholders, non-governmental organizations, and lovers of democracy to watch a documentary, Sweats of Freedom, Struggle for Democracy in Nigeria.
Saturday, 1st of October 1960, the new Nigerian flag of green, white, green makes a majestic ascent.
It tells the story of pro-democracy movements and the sacrifice of the Abiola family for Nigeria's democracy.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was in fact a huge array of election malpractices virtually in all the states of the Federation before the actual voting began.
The documentary opens with the 1996 coup and accesses the impatience of the military with the political class. Despite the struggles, the present-day democracy seemed to be far from getting it right.
There was a bid to perpetuate military rule. And for as long as that was going to happen, Nigerian democracy could not mature. So some of us decided that, enough was enough of military rule.
We didn't have too much at the time. It was only the CLO that was in the forefront. But we still had others. They were not as big as CLO. They have to contribute.
Today you hear about agitations and see agitations. They want to divide Nigeria. They want to do this, they want to do that. They don't know the consequences of a little action. We want to invoke that sense of patriotism in all of us. That those things that brought Nigeria to the brink more than how many years ago, that they are still with us. That we have to be eternally conscious and eternally ready to fight those evils, those devils that can truncate the unity of our country.
The producers say the documentary is to build a sense of appreciation for the sacrifices which pro-democracy elements made to enthrone the freedom and human rights which the nation enjoys today. Toyin Babawale, AIT News, Abuja.
Constitutional duty of the mass media to uphold the responsibility and accountability of the government to the people. What is today the Federal Republic of Nigeria was signed into existence on January 1, 1914, here in Zungeru, in present-day Niger State, north-central Nigeria. It was actually a hall, but today there is no hall here. All the buildings and the roof and all of that have collapsed. That's what we do on Straight Talk here on AIT. I am TV, telling stories from the streets, communities, and asking the very tough questions.
You are a member of the National Economic Council. Have you advised State Council that is supposed to advise the President on economic issues? Have you put forward this proposal?
It's not politics. It's all about the facts, the truth, and the people. Straight Talk, Nigeria's development promotion program on television.
The Nigeria of our dream, the Nigeria we need, is the united, indissoluble, and cohesive Nigeria which guarantees equity, fairness, justice, and prosperity for its citizens. That is our focus on people, politics, and power. It is fresh, insightful, impactful. It's a must-watch. People, politics, and power on AIT. They see chaos and conflicts. We see community action for good governance. They see poverty and want. We see perseverance and the will to go on. They see economic law. We see the ingenuity and creative spirit of our people. We are AIT News, fresh, authentic views of Africa. How would you rather see the world? AIT News, all sides, all the time.
On business news, the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, has called on Nigerians to desist from erecting illegal gas plants in residential areas due to its high inflammable nature. DPR Zonal Controller in Warri, represented by a senior official of the agency, Curran Dixon, made the call during a raid at an illegal gas plant in Ekpo, Kodo. He also warned that anyone found wanting will be prosecuted.
They have no license, no form of approval from DPRO for this operation. Apart from being a legal facility, the structure you are seeing here, no gas facility or no gas tank is supposed to be boxed up this way. This is, a kind of a time bomb awaiting to explode.
Corinne, however, warned that DPR is ready to prosecute anyone found wanting.
Anything of this sort, wherever you see it, please make sure you report to DPR so that appropriate action can be taken to avert any adverse effect of explosion or gas spillage that will result to, fire that will claim lives.
Meanwhile, owner of the illegal gas plant has blamed his actions on ignorance.
For the little amount I have with the knowledge I have, I try to put it into it. If I go out there now and steal, it will be a bad thing. Or I go out there to do Yahoo. At the end of the day, it will turn to another thing. Though my action might be bad, but please, sir, I'm begging you, please. Just help me out, enlighten me, and tell me what to do next, please, sir.
Ajuri Akmomeriene, AIT News, Warri.
The federal government has been challenged to partner with experts in the private sector in equipping more young Nigerians with ICT skills as a way of curbing the rising unemployment rate in the country, which currently stands at 23.1%, as government alone cannot bear the burden. Key players in the ICT sector at this ICT training program noted that sustainable entrepreneurship is achievable when combined with ICT skills.
Collaboration with the National Center for Women Development and ICT firm AKG Global organized a 5-day ICT training program for 100 youths across the 36 states and the FCT.
Digital marketing, website design, and social media, those were the areas that we treated. Can boost businesses because if you know how to design a website, you're already there. You can hold that as your business. If you know how to do digital marketing, you can market your own products or get people to market products under you. So that is the purpose of the training.
So by getting this training of the ICT, people can get employed by themselves. You don't need to get this pay job as far as this situation is concerned. So if you get this kind of training, you can go on your own.
Key players in the sector have also called on the federal government to support the private sector in empowering young Nigerians with ICT skills.
To have a successful business transaction or to run a successful business today, you need ICT. For this year alone, we have already about 350 persons trained in ICT in different aspects of it.
The government should encourage the kind of persons or people or companies that are interested in helping youth, even without them being given contract by the government. The government itself is doing all this arrangement to assist youth, especially on this issue of e-marketing. People can learn how to do that, get a computer.
The 100 participants at the training program received working materials such as laptops to enable them put to use their acquired knowledge.
Lead consultant to Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa, Professor Yemi Akintaye George, has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to sign the National Agricultural Seed Council Bill and the National Fertilizer Quality Control Bill before the expiration of his tenure on the 29th of May 2019. Professor Akintaye George says the bill will boost agriculture and employment opportunities in Nigeria.
Should please sign the National Agricultural Seed Council Bill into law, as well as the National Fertilizer Quality Control Bill. Going to create an enabling environment for agriculture, and in developing these bills, both the private sector and the public sector work together harmoniously. And then in addition to these bills, or in anticipation of these bills, we have developed regulations to cover areas which are necessary for the practical implementation of the bills.
Professor George and others also said there is need to align Nigerian seed system with ECOWAS seed regulatory framework and will also ensure regulation of foreign bred varieties for release on domestic markets. The Nigerian customs intercepted drugs and goods worth millions of naira from smugglers operating in the eastern zone of the country. The customs area controller in charge of Zone C, Kayode Olusemire, said that the command also seized rice and codeine from smugglers.
Impounded contraband items worth millions of naira. The controller also impounded compressor, tramadol drugs, and codeine from smugglers. He said that they also seized cannabis and other items worth over 164 million naira, and also from importers who refused to come forward with the paper for clearance of their consignment.
You can see tramadol. These are the things that we have been advocating that people should stop bringing into the country. Tramadol is inimical to our health. That's why we're having so many vices going on around the country.
While in Edo State Zone, bags of assorted rice, used tires were also impounded by Zone C Command.
People are so incredulous, people are so, the way they are handling nowadays, you'll be so surprised. That people who conceal rice in silos, conceal rice in the GP tanks, just to make sure officers are beaten. But nowadays, as they move a step, we move 2 steps ahead of them. We have advocated several times that people should stop smuggling of rice. Nigeria is where we can plant rice.
The controller warned importers against bringing in consignment into the country without approval from government. Egiseme Idinye, AIT News, Benin.
Well, that's business. Moving on. Information and communication technology experts have described Nigeria's move towards open data as a catalyst for rapid development. Speaking at the opening session of a 2-day forum with the theme, Harnessing Public Data Assets for Economic Recovery and Growth, the experts said access to non-sensitive government information will promote transparency and accountability in the country.
Is in line with global best practices of bringing government closer to the people through information. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Communication, Musa Stefanu, says that faithful implementation of the open data policy will help Nigeria address developmental challenges.
If you want transparency in government, you have to let the people understand exactly what government is doing. How much money comes to government, where do you spend it on? There are many data out there that commercial people would like to have access to use for investment purpose. You can actually mobilize the people more when they know that if they give 1 naira, it goes a long way to developing facilities for their own use.
Experts say publishing information on government activity will promote citizen participation, encourage research, and enable proper policy formulation.
Open data is a paradigm shift in the sense that government is changing its attitude to public sector information, to now manage public sector information as a national resource.
It means that when you award contracts, the citizens should know. You have to upload it online. We need to see from beginning to end.
Projects that are being executed by government, they need to have input of the citizens on whether citizens like the projects, they know about it, they can keep track of it, right from the budgeting to the execution of the program.
The Open Data Conference is aimed at bringing stakeholders to validate a draft open data policy and action plan for mandatory application across government ministries and agencies. Usaitin Yari, AIT News, Abuja.
Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello says the well-being of the people and development of the state will continue to be his administration's day-to-day focus as long as he remains governor. Governor Bello made this promise to groups of traditional rulers, members of religious bodies, market women and youths from the 3 senatorial districts who over a 3-day period gathered in Lokoja to voice their support for a second-term bid.
The event was a 3-day stakeholders meeting attended by thousands convened to appraise the performance of the Yahya Bello's administration and endorse the governor for his second term in office.
There was water everywhere, but none to drink. It didn't take long. The water project is ongoing.
The first time for this democracy that's 20 years old, for the first time, Kaba produced the Speaker of the House of Assembly.
He has spent the past 4 years trying to see what he can do to move Kogi forward. And I think it's just apt for us to give him the other 4 years for him to perfect what he has already started.
As you're coming to be a governor here, it's a divine from Almighty Allah. And you are not here to victimize any tribe. God will see you through the next level.
Some of them also believe that there's a lot more to be done.
Your Excellency, please, even if it's like our son strayed, as he retraces his step, please draw him closer. That is a very fervent appeal from Ibadan people.
Whatever the issues that are made, I see them as the issues at party level, family level. And I believe that dialogue is second to none in the world.
Former lawmakers, defected members from other parties also scored Governor Bello's administration high.
The moribund primary healthcare center in Jegubeki that you have renovated and upgraded is functioning very well.
The road leading from Ejule to Ida, the traditional headquarters of Igala people, was done last by Oni and Son in 1973. But today the road is growing gradually with asphalt overlay. This is the Igala agenda. You are of our own generation. PDP had about 19 National Executive Committee members. We didn't have any amongst them. But today, an Igala woman, courtesy of your work, is leading a whole women folk in APC.
The special advisor to the governor on local government and chieftaincy affairs, Abubakar Ohere, who reacted to journalists' questions, said the meeting was convened by the people to enable them present their scorecard of Governor Bello's performance.
From what they have been saying, they are urging him to remain focused, to remain very determined in his pursuit to return back to office for second term.
Governor Bello promised his unalloyed commitment to make life better for the people.
You have urged me to continue to soldier on, to deliver the dividend of democracy to the good people of Kogi State at large. I want to assure you that moving forward, in the conclusion of this first term and by the special grace of God, going into our second term, I'll continue to improve on what we have met on ground, what we are doing, and Kogi State is going to be great.
He appealed to the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria to release the bailout balance of 30.8 billion naira to enable him pay outstanding salaries. Avoy Umogu, AIT News, Lokoja.
The issues as they break. The political actors.
Unless we get a cure for what is ailing our polity, then we will continue to make efforts to perfect it.
Let's keep talking. Sometimes once they don't even need to hear, they have to say it. It is their own to be defended.
We all desire a united Nigeria. Then let nobody tell us that united Nigeria that all of us want to become will not be negotiated.
The scheming and the intrigue.
In a democracy, the government should be afraid of the people, not the people should be afraid of the government.
If this ugly scenario is not nipped in the bud, I'm telling you there will be a time when you are sleeping in your house, you cannot sleep with your two eyes closed.
This is a kangaroo coup.
We follow them all. Follow in-depth and no-holds-barred analysis. Feel the pulse of Nigeria's democratic growth only on the AIT.
Let me know to all of us that in this new dispensation, there's no more monkey the walk than nature.
Democracy Today. Nigeria's authority on politics on the AIT.
The Minister of Environment, Suleiman Hassan, has handed over the remaining 5 sites in Eleme and Tai to contractors for the remediation of the impacted land in Ogoniland. The minister, represented by the coordinator Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, Marvin Dekil, while handing over the sites to the contractors, restated the federal government's commitment to the Ogoni Clean Up project.
For Environment, Savio Suleiman Zama, represented by the coordinator Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, Marvin Dekil, while handing over the polluted site to contractors in Eleme and Tai, Rivers State, urged the contractors to execute the project in line with international best practices, assuring them that all measures have been put in place to ensure the successful implementation of the project.
We are here in continuation of what the minister himself started at your palace here in January, which was he handed over to you then contractors who are working in this in your territory, 21 contractors. 5 of those contractors were to be approved by the president himself at the level of the Federal Executive Council. And I'm very happy to say to you that the president approved those 5 contractors very recently.
His Royal Majesty Godwin Giniwa Benemene Tai Kingdom assures the contractors total support of the people.
I want to assure you that as far as I'm concerned, the Ogoni people are ready to receive the HYPREP in Ogoni land. But I fought this battle so that it will benefit the Ogoni people. So I thank Mr. President for all that he is doing.
Stakeholders called on the people of Ogoni to take advantage of the economic opportunities and continue to remain peaceful and resolute in actualizing the implementation of the Ogoni Cleanup project.
I want to tell the people from Kurukuru community, do your very best, put your houses in order, support this contractor to make sure that this contractor succeed and deliver value to Ogoni.
The first phase of the remediation of Ogoni land had been handed over to 21 contractors. It is expected that within the shortest possible time, people can now go back to their sources of livelihood, which is fishing, farming, among others. Egogon Akabwe, AIT News, Port Harcourt.
The Nigerian Navy ship NNS Pathfinders handed over 18 suspected crude oil thieves to the Nigerian police for further investigation and prosecution. Executive Officer, Nigerian Navy ship NNS Pathfinder, Captain Adegoke Ebo, while handing over the suspect, noted a preliminary investigation revealed that the suspect lifted stolen crude from Nigerian creeks to Ghana and other countries.
Navy ship NNS Pathfinder Captain Adegoke Ebo said the 18 suspects and 2 vessels, MT Apecos and MT Invictus, have been lifting crude oil within the Nigerian maritime environment without approval.
The Nigerian Navy, in collaboration with other security agencies, arrested Mr. Osimili Ada, the managing director of Petrogress Incorporation in Nigeria, for suspected involvement in crude oil theft, illegal bunkering, and other vices in Nigerian waters. The arrest was prompted by credible reports that Mr. Osimili had perfected plans to lift stolen crude oil from the creeks with 2 vessels.
The naval chief further noted that the arrest of the suspects follows an alleged pirate attack on a vessel, MT Apecos, in April 2019.
The arrest was premised on the knowledge that the suspect had credible information on a pirate attack reported on board MT Apecos on the 19th of April 2019, where 5 Indians and 2 Nigerians were abducted and taken away to an unknown creek in Bayelsa. Contrary to the initial reports that the 5 Indians and the 2 Nigerians were abducted by pirates, our own investigations revealed that the abduction was rather as a result of a failed crude oil theft collaboration.
The lead suspect, Osimili Ada, however, denied knowledge of the vessels operating on Nigerian waters without proper documentation.
I did not bring Apecos into Nigeria. It came without my knowledge. Even when Apecos left into Nigeria, I was not aware.
The Nigerian Navy, however, promised not to relent in its resolve to rid the Nigerian maritime environment of illegal bunkering, sea piracy, crude oil theft, among other vices. Zainab Sedinu, AIT News, Port Harcourt.
As part of its renewed efforts at curbing the rising cases of kidnapping, criminal clashes, banditry and other forms of crime, the Benue State Police Command has launched the Special Force Operation Code named Puff Adder in the state. While launching the operation at the state headquarters command in Makurdi, the State Commissioner of Police, Garba Mokdas, solicited the cooperation of the populace, especially religious and traditional leaders, education institutions, and the youth in fighting the heinous crimes in the state.
Officers of the Joint Security Action Plan tagged Operation Puff Adder are there exhibiting their combat readiness to turn around the security situation across the state. Commissioner of Police Garba Mukada says it will no longer be business as usual, particularly for criminals.
This operation is one of the measures put in place by the Inspector General of Police, acting IGP Mohammed Adamu, to curb the increasing wave of heinous crimes in the country. Benue State has been mapped out for this operation. This is the reason why these men have been carefully selected to contribute their quota and wealth of knowledge and experience to protect lives and property. And the government that is responsible and responsive, particular reference to the security of the state. Do more this time around. There are a lot of security challenges in the state.
Earlier, 19 suspects were paraded for crimes ranging from kidnapping to gun manufacturing, as well as armed robbery.
You will agree with me that the time has come for us to strengthen our will and resolve to deploy our time and resources towards confronting these criminal elements that have become a threat to our security and peace.
While pledging the command's continued partnership with members of the public to curb crime, Mukada has requested the cooperation of residents in providing useful information for security operations to succeed. Dofan Aga, AIT News, Makurdi.
Pensioners in the southwest region of Nigeria have threatened to drag state governors to court over unpaid gratuities and pensions. Thus, among others, was the resolutions reached at the Southwest Zonal Council meeting of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners in Akure, the Ondo State capital.
Lau and many other senior citizens are not happy with inability of state governors to harmonize and pay their gratuities, which they claim has led to death of some of them who could not pay medical bills.
My personal gratuity, as far back as 1999 April, has not been harmonized in line with the letter I received from government.
These, however, prompted the Southwest Council of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners to drag state governors in the region to court over inability to pay their gratuities.
The Southwest Caucus of Nigerian Union of Pensioners has decided to test certain parts of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in a competent law court. We want to determine whether it is constitutional that state governors should not pay gratuities and pension as at when.
The senior citizens who also frowned at the quest for life pensions for public office holders want President Muhammadu Buhari to look into the huge allowances paid to federal lawmakers.
I will even say that they should be on part-time. But we are saying here that they should be placed on salary levels. You will see that the rush for political offices will reduce drastically.
These senators, instead of cutting their salaries, they are adding to. They balloon it. Where somebody cannot be paid 30,000 naira a month, somebody is going home with 40 million naira.
The pensioner also lent their support for local government autonomy. Adesina Yusuf, AIT News, Akure.
Football is in my heart, in my feet.
in my body, in my soul. It has power like no other sport. It lifts an entire nation. It has the power to take our breaths away, to make us laugh, cry, and rejoice. I've scored over 1,000 goals. The only player to win 3 World Cups. Voted Player of the Century. My legacy? To be the man that creates more moments of beauty than anybody else.
Still watching the news on AIT. It's time now for Sports Track. 18 countries have arrived at Abuja, Nigeria's capital, for the Commonwealth Handball Association Africa Group meeting billed for Saturday, May 25 and 26, 2019. The meeting of handball administrators in the Commonwealth nations is aimed at charting a way forward for the game in Africa. The Executive Director of the Commonwealth Secretariat, Saidu Jubril, said hosting the Commonwealth Handball Association has a lot of positives for Nigeria handball development.
To see how we synergize among the African family, so that when we get to CHA Congress in Sweden, where the IHF Congress will be held, it will be seen that the family of Africans are a united front. And by the time we meet there, whatever the Congress will stand for, we speak with a common voice. And when we speak with a common voice, it shows that the game of handball in Africa is going to grow faster than the way it is.
Director of Grassroots Sports Development in the Ministry of Youth and Sport, Ademola Are, believes Nigeria's contribution to handball development in the Commonwealth places the country in a leadership position.
To have a common front, to see how far we have gone, what progress we have made, and what is the way forward. This is necessary because Nigeria is very much interested in retaining the Secretary Generalship of that body. If you may recall that the federal government actually requested for the hosting of the headquarters of Commonwealth Handball Federation in Nigeria, and we've had this for a very long time. So the onus is on us to bring our brothers and sisters together and forge a way forward.
The two-day deliberation will also be used to form a common voice for African countries at the upcoming IHF Congress in Gothenburg, Sweden in July. Nigeria began their campaign for FIFA Under-20 World Cup Poland 2019 on a bright note with a 4-0 drubbing of Qatar in the opening game of Group D. Maxwell Effiong opened the floodgates of goals in the 12th minute. Henry Offiah doubled the Flying Eagles' lead 12 minutes later to put halftime score at 2-0. Dele Bashiru made it 3 for Nigeria in the 68th minute as Aliou Salahuddin put the game beyond the reach of Qatar 6 minutes later as Nigeria cruised over their opponent. New Zealand humbled Honduras 5-0 in the opening match of Group C. The Flying Eagles will face the United States next on Monday, May 27. Mixed reactions have been trailing the Flying Eagles' 4-0 win over Qatar in their opening match of the 22nd FIFA World Cup, Poland 2019. Some football enthusiasts in Nigeria's capital who spoke with AIT Sport were optimistic that the Flying Eagles will scale through to the knockout phase, while others were pessimistic.
And Offiah that scored the second goal, I want them to add more effort and play well, and the coaches to encourage them to put more effort to do well in the next match.
Well, I don't feel so excited because if you look at the group, Qatar is seen as the baby of the group, looking at the likes of the USA and the Ukraine in the same group. So they shouldn't feel so excited so that complacency will not come into play.
They have created a channel of going ahead. The way the step they have taken, I believe that they may move more than this.
Match in Group D between Ukraine and United States of America ended in favor of the United States. The top two teams from each group will qualify automatically for the knockout phase. Several A-list road race athletes from around the world are in Okpekpe in Esako East local government area of Edo State, South Nigeria, for Saturday's IAAF Silver Label 10-kilometer Okpekpe International Road Race. Organizers have assured of an event free of hitches. The event secretary says that all logistics, technical and administrative are already in place. A standard doping control center with the required equipment have been put in place in line with the regulations of the world governing body. Athletes have been assured of the best hospitality available at gold label races. The pre-race technical meeting was held earlier on Friday as athletes were intimated on other schedules, including the warm-up. This year's race will be organized with a gold label template as organizers hope for a gold label status for the 8th edition in 2020. The first label race in Nigeria, West Africa, and first silver label race also in Nigeria and West Africa. In basketball, Toronto Raptors defeated Milwaukee Bucks 105-99 in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Final on Thursday. Kawhi Leonard carried the load down the stretch, much like he has throughout the playoffs for Toronto. Leonardo finished with 35 points on 11 of 25 shots, while also dishing out 9 assists and securing 7 rebounds. The All-Star swingman scored 15 of the Toronto 33 points in the final quarter.
And he stops. Been flying for either club in this first half. Leonard guarded by Marrakesh, and he knocks it down.
Guys.
And you know, Kawhi Leonard
Kind of been up and down in this series. Remember the career high 29 playoff points in Game 1.
Every time they have a big play, it seems that Kawhi shuts the crowd up the very next play with something spectacular. Here's Leonard from
Giannis Antetokounmpo was certainly Milwaukee's best performer, but got banged up and didn't execute down the stretch. Toronto forced the Bucks to play half-court offense in the last 5 minutes by closing off all run-outs. Toronto is now 1 win away from the franchise first ever NBA final appearance. Yeah, that's Sports Track now with other stories. The British Prime Minister Theresa May says she will quit as Conservative leader on 7 June, paving the way for a contest to decide a new Prime Minister. In an emotional statement in Downing Street, May said she had done her best to honor the 2016 EU referendum results. She said it would remain a matter of deep regret that she had been unable to deliver Brexit.
Minister Theresa May is expected on Friday to announce the date of her departure, triggering a contest that will bring a new leader to power who is likely to push for a more decisive Brexit divorce deal. After a crisis-driven premiership of almost 3 years, May is due to meet the chairman of the powerful Conservative 1922 committee, which can make or break prime ministers to set out a timetable for her departure. May, once a reluctant supporter of EU membership, who won the top job in the turmoil that followed the 2016 Brexit vote, steps down with her central pledges to lead the United Kingdom out of the bloc and heal its divisions unfulfilled. She endured repeated crisis and humiliation in her effort to find a compromise Brexit deal that Parliament could rectify, and a deeply divided country and a political elite that is deadlocked over how, when or whether to leave the EU.
Ever since I first stepped through the door behind me as Prime Minister, I have striven to make the United Kingdom a country that works not just for a privileged few, but for everyone, and to honour the result of the EU referendum. Back in 2016, we gave the British people a choice. Against all predictions, the British people voted to leave the European Union. I feel as certain today as I did 3 years ago that in a democracy, if you give people a choice, you have a duty to implement what they decide. I have done my best to do that. I negotiated the terms of our exit and a new relationship with our closest neighbours that protects jobs, our security and our union. I have done everything I can to convince MPs to back that deal. Sadly, I have not been able to do so.
The treasurer of the 1992 committee, Jeffrey Clinton Brown, said he expected May would stay on a caretaker prime minister while a successor was chosen. The leadership election is likely to last about 6 weeks, starting on June 10 after US President Donald Trump's visit to Britain. May's departure will deepen the Brexit crisis as a new leader is likely to want a more decisive split, raising the chances of a confrontation with the European Union and a snap parliamentary election. The leading contenders to succeed May all want a tougher divorce deal, although the EU has said it will not renegotiate the withdrawal treaty it sealed in November. Boris Johnson, the face of the official Brexit campaign in 2016, is the favourite to succeed May. Betting markets put a 40% implied probability on Johnson winning the top job. Others tripped by betting markets are Dominic Raab, a Brexit supporter and former Brexit secretary. Betting markets put a 14% implied probability on his chances.
The Chief of Defence Staff, General Abayomi Olonisaki, wants collective efforts in the fight against Boko Haram terrorists and other forms of criminality in the country. The Chief of Defence Staff said this in a message to the close of a 2-week joint operations course conducted under the British Military Assistance Programme for officers drawn from the military and paramilitary organizations in Abuja. He said the security challenges being faced by the country is capable of breaching the corporate existence of the nation.
That's why we have all departments of most departments of government that are really stakeholders in this campaign. We have this principle of all government approach, and that's why you have seen that we brought everyone, and then everyone has a role to play. It's not a military campaign on its own. It's involved the MDAs, involve everyone that has a peculiar role to play. That's
earlier, we used to mobilize for kinetic operations with military components and police. But this gap this course has gone ahead to highlight the importance of every agency and MDA.
Participants at the course expressed their readiness to collaborate with one another in winning the fight against insurgency.
That to make sure our borders are safe. Therefore, we have a lot of strategy we have put in place.
We've always been involved in all the lines of operation, especially the humanitarian aspect of it. And we've been providing relief materials where there are needs. And you know, sometimes when we do this, there are still some challenges.
The officers were drawn from the Army, Navy, the Air Force, the police, National Intelligence Agency and other paramilitary services. That is the news on AIT. Many thanks for watching. I am Nta Otobong.